Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and welcome to episode 43 of the DGA podcast. I am your host, Vince, and with me in the virtual studio is...
Idly.
Yeah, she's counting because it's been a while since we've last podcasted. My main goal today is just to show off, well, apparently the new microphone that I just got, courtesy of the folks at Joby. I reviewed it. It's not bad. Go check out my review video of this Joby microphone. But yeah, she's using it because her old one is a bit MacGyvered. The quality was good, but she had like 8 different boxes that she needed to use to get it to stand up properly. It was always falling over. But yeah, now she's got a proper microphone with a proper stand, and hopefully it comes through okay.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great so far.
So far, it sounds good.
Okay. Cool.
I also managed to get sound pad working to a limited degree. Did you hear that?
Yes, I sure did. Wow.
Just checking. That's my favorite one, actually. It's limited. I have like 20 or so sound clips, but yeah, I managed to get that back up and working.
Awesome.
So you'll hear a lot of
Open salami.
open
Okay,
salamis.
then.
Yeah. So anyway, our main goal right now is to just thank our Patreon and Twitch subscribers for your continued support. With regular donations dedicated to the podcast, I'll be happy to do more of these, but for right now, I'm just going to do these when I can, as medical issues allow me to do so. So the topic for this podcast is inspired by our recent trips to escape rooms that we physically went to. And I was like thinking to myself, well, maybe we could do some kind of escape room related podcast. And then I'm thinking, well, we've only been to like 2 or 3 physical ones, so what can we do instead? So the topic that I came up with was 5 main types of cooperative puzzle games. Not individual games, but 5 main genres, types, that kind of thing. And if you don't like one, chances are you're going to like some other genre that will suit you better. These are ordered in no way in particular. Does it mean that, the number 1 entry is better than number 5? I was rattling these off in my head and on Notepad here. So, there's no particular order to these, just FYI. All right, so with that being said, let's just jump right into it. The number 5 that I have written down here, this is one of the main types of cooperative puzzle games. Anything with real time that involves communication and time limits. So these are games like Escape Simulator. These are games like Escape Academy. In fact, let's just get that going. I'm a little rusty. There we go. Hit play.
You're fine.
Okay, so these are games like Escape Simulator, Escape Academy. These games are typically timed. These are meant to simulate you being in a physical escape room. There's some sort of clock on the wall counting down, and you're trying to solve all of the clues before the time limit expires. Now, admittedly, some of these games are a bit more lax than others. In Escape Simulator, for example, you don't fail if you don't complete it in time. You just don't get the achievement. But you can always go back and replay the level and get the achievement. Other games that I've written down on here, the We Were Here series, some of the puzzles in those games are timed and some are not. Other games, Keep Talking and No One Explodes, which is a frantic game where one person is looking at a bomb and the other person has the manual, and and the person with the manual is trying to tell the person with the bomb what to cut and what buttons to press, that kind of thing. And then, even as an aside, any ghost games that you might play, like Phasmophobia, Ghost Exorcism Inc. And I know you're thinking, well, wait a minute, how is a ghost game a cooperative puzzle game? Well, if you think about it, you in Phasmophobia are trying to gather clues before the ghost kills you, and you're doing it in a cooperative manner. To me, it is a little puzzly in that way. Is it a revenant? Is it, is it a yokai or whatever? So you are trying to puzzle this together. It's just a bit more interactive. So these are games that are typically like time crunchy, frantic, hectic, and you're still expected to solve puzzles. Do you have a favorite game in this particular category?
This is my favorite category, so they're all my favorite.
They're all your favorites. See, you like the time limits. You like being stressed.
I
Um,
mean, it does give a little bit of like, oh my gosh, we have to try and, do this and be allotted time. Like, yeah, I do like, I guess, being stressed.
well, do you have a favorite game? Like, is Escape Simulator better than We Were Here, or does Escape Academy better than Escape Sim, or do they
I
all have
think
their different quirks that you like about them?
I like them all. I really do. I think We Were Here Together is probably one of my favorites because that relies on like true co-op, uh, the true co-op sense because you're on one side and the other person is on another side and you cannot get out without the other person. Whereas Escape Simulator and some of the other escape room games, you can do it by yourself. You just have the other person helping you,
Hmm.
but I really like the true co-ops where the other person is required, for you to get out.
So the more communication, the better, is what it
Yes.
sounds like. Because, like you said, we were here together, or we were here together, we were here forever. We were
Mhm.
here to look who's talking together, whatever. The many renditions of We Were Here
Mhm.
series, and there's another one coming out too.
Oh wow.
Those typically 95% of the game, you never see each other. On
Hmm.
occasion, you might get a glance of the other person walking down a hallway or through bars or something, but you
Hmm.
never actually get to do something with them, typically. It's you are expected to do something on your own to help them, and they are expected to do something to help you. Whereas, like you said, in Escape Simulator, two people can be in the same room, but one person could be the alpha doing everything, and the other person could be off playing Gems of War or something, which you would never do.
No, never.
No, so so yeah. So yeah, I like these so as long as I can turn the time crunch off.
Hmm.
That's what I mean. I enjoy a more casual, laid back, puzzly experience because I don't know, like the time limit, like you said, does add a certain thrill to it. But at
Hmm.
the same time, like the older I get, the worse my reflexes get. So I need
Yeah.
a little bit more time to manage the mouse and keyboard. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Because and it's weird because like the controls for Escape Simulator is different than Escape Academy. So I always get like my interact buttons confused. Why can't I
Mm.
spin this? Oh, it's because I'm playing this game and not that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I loved. There are certain levels in Escape Simulator that I really enjoy, and I feel like the puzzles there are moderate in
Mm.
difficulty. Like so they're fine as long as I've got time. There was a couple of questionable ones that I felt were a bit too rough.
Hmm.
But for the most part, Escape Simulator is fantastic. Escape Academy is also fun, but there's a time crunch on it that I really don't enjoy.
Mm.
But you, again, you really like that.
I do. I don't know why. It reminds me of Flatline. And I want to play Flatline all day.
Flatline is
So
a board game where you're rolling dice
yeah.
to
Well,
assign to
we'll get
various
into that
patients.
one.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, so that was our number five. Any type of escape room ish, real time crunch, stressful thing that's heavily reliant on communication. That is one type of escape room, or
Yes.
one type of category, I should say. The number four that I have written down on here is asynchronous, no network, and no time limit. These are games like Unboxing, Cryptic Killer, TikTok, A Tale for Two, and Past Within. These are games that have no inherent time limit, and typically they are never on a network, meaning like you really don't interact with the other person on the game's network.
Mm.
Rather, there are a series of button presses that go, hey, did your friend confirm this code? If so, hit yes. That tells the game on your end to keep going. And then likewise on your friend's side, did your friend reach this point yet? Or did your friend enter code 68 into the computer? If yes, then go. So like the game, you could play this on your own without needing another person. But this is like async.
Assuming,
Yeah.
yeah, assuming you know the answer. from the
Yeah.
other player.
You would need two copies. But yeah, you could totally like just if you have the game in two different places and you could play both sides and at the same time without needing to be on the same network is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. I like these a little bit better only because there is no time limit. They're a bit more casual. The games that I mentioned, the Unboxing, Crypto Killer, like I found that I was solving those puzzles a lot more quickly than in Escape Simulator and Escape Academy.
Mm.
I mean, they were still somewhat challenging, but we typically got through these games in like 1 2 hours max.
Yeah.
They're meant to be like a short experience. Did you care for any? Did you care for this genre, or you just think it's like okay? Do you
I,
prefer the real
I
time stuff?
I still like them. I definitely prefer the real-time stuff only because it gives it that extra challenge. I think these asynchronous games are almost too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still enjoy them, you know.
Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense. Do you have a favorite that of? Have you played one of
Ooh.
these that you really like, got addicted to, or you wanted to play more of?
I'm really digging that unboxing Crypto Killer. I'm like dying to play it and to finish it to
Okay,
see what happens.
I
So
see.
I love the comic book
The
e
comic book
aspect.
style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's fair enough. All right, so that was our number four. Not a whole lot to talk about there.
Mhm.
Our number three was in person escape rooms. And this, again, we've been to about, what, two
Two.
of them? We've been to two of them. But I
Yeah.
have to say, despite being only to two of them, I started to notice a trend in that the main difference between these in-person escape rooms and the virtual escape rooms is that these are a lot more larger than life.
Hmm.
For example, in Escape Simulator, you were put into this really tiny claustrophobic room. It's like, really, this is it? I can only move around in this tiny confined space. But when you're
Hmm.
actually in an in-person escape room, I felt like I was overwhelmed, to be honest. Like the first 10 15 minutes required me to really get used to my surroundings before I could actually start solving puzzles. I felt like I was out of my depth or element. There's a
Yeah.
certain adjustment period
Oh yeah.
with in-person escape rooms. I think that needs to happen. We did the two that we did. The one that you're seeing now is the very first one we did. This was the best one out of the two that we did. This guy invited us in. We did the study or library, whatever it was called. It was supposedly the easiest of the escape rooms. But the study was huge. They brought us into like a little tiny room at first, and then once you got past that little room, it opened up into this gigantic study. And some of the
Hmm.
puzzles in there were really unique and satisfying. And there was some like red herrings that really threw me off. But
The chess table,
the
yes.
chess one, yeah. These are the kinds of games, though, that benefit from more than two people playing. Like an escape
Hmm.
simulator, it's typically balanced for 2 to 3 people. Whereas with an escape room like this, you're better off bringing in 8 people because I'm finding that a lot of, at least the two that we played, there's a lot of looking around. There were a lot of hidden objects in the environment. Again, I don't want to spoil any of the puzzles here, but let's just say that we got hung up on a couple of puzzles in both escape rooms that we did because we couldn't find the object in the environment. Either because it was taped, just blended in into the wall and we couldn't see it,
Yeah.
or it was behind some kind of wall or door that we didn't like think to look behind. So
Hmm.
like I feel like with an actual physical escape room, you need more people there to cover more ground because it feels like larger than life in my
Hmm.
opinion. Um, just as in a quick aside, also among these, I have penciled in here the To Hunt a Killer series. These are like mail-in puzzle boxes that you can get and put on your dining room table, and they give you all of the clues there, but then you have to sort of jigsaw it, put it together, and figure out who the killer is. So again, this category is all about in-person jigsaw like puzzles. Did you out of like the in-person escape room and the table one that we did with the Hunt a Killer series, did you have a preference? Did you like the in-person ones better?
I liked the in-person ones better for sure.
Okay.
The board game ones, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, the Hunt a Killer, that dive bar that we did. Hmm.
Yeah, that was okay. It was a little too tough for me, I think. I you destroyed that. I was just sitting in the background sucking my thumb. But
Playing Gems of War on your phone. Yeah.
yeah. But I like the escape rooms better than that, but I like the video games better than the escape rooms only because to me these escape rooms are more of a scavenger hunt. They're not really as puzzly as I would like them to be, I
Mm.
think. Well, I mean, I guess you could say that it's a scavenger hunt at first, and then it turns into a puzzle, and then it's a scavenger hunt again, and then it turns to a puzzle. So, I mean, I don't
No,
know.
no, that makes sense. Like you said, there is a seek and find element to the in-person escape rooms.
Hmm.
Whereas in like Escape Simulator, you've got that tiny room and you just have to figure out how to access a certain thing. I don't
Yeah.
I don't have to sit here and like in Escape Simulator you can open a couple of drawers, but that's about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Whereas in this, it's like, no, no, go ahead and look here and behind here and this curtain here, and you're again you're encouraged to do all of these things. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say that I don't like the escape rooms. I love the escape rooms. I want to do more of them
mm,
because I like a good scavenger hunt. But as for like an actual puzzle game,
mm,
I lean more towards the video games just because I'm a gamer. You know, I'm a
mm-hmm.
video gamer. So,
Right, and people are bad, right? And I'm kidding.
yes.
I'm kidding. Yes, as introverts, it's no, people are bad. No. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, physically, it's taxing for me to do an escape room for an hour, to be in a room and constantly move around for an hour without having to sit down, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like you need to be in a certain physical shape. Because
Yeah.
one of them that he was showing us, we didn't do it, but one he showed involved you crawling into a vent to look at a skeleton or something and get a code there or something or
Hmm.
other. So there is a bit of, there is a bit of like physical dexterity involved too. Another one was we
Hmm.
had to like shine a light and reflect it off mirrors and stuff. I don't want to like spoil it, but
Yeah.
that was too difficult. I couldn't do it. I had a
Yeah.
really hard time doing that. Because I couldn't get my hand to I don't know. I'm just my ADHD brain couldn't figure out how to do it. I'm like trying to get it to work, but
It's funny because there was a slide too,
oh
and
yes.
I busted my knee on that slide. It's so embarrassing. With all that said, I still really like them, and I would absolutely do more of them, if I could. I like the challenge, I do like trying to get up and move around, trying even in my old age,
Old age. Come on, I'm 6 years older than you, but okay. Mm-hmm.
So,
Uh huh.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, this is definitely more of I don't know, this is a great thing to do with family and friends.
It is. I think this is a better group activity. The only
Hmm.
downside to these is that they're expensive.
Yeah.
These escape rooms, it's typically they price them so that the less people you have, the more expensive it is per person, but it's still cheaper. So like for
Hmm.
two people, it's like $40 a person. Whereas if you
Hmm.
have eight people, it's like $25 a person. They,
Yeah.
they scale it that way. It's really weird. I would love an escape room where it's cheaper. If I were to make my own escape room, I would price it so that the general public could play it. The downside is the props and the cleanup. I'm sure all of that takes time.
Oh yeah. The
Replacing items. That's probably
the
why it's so expensive.
technicalities, yeah, the technicalities behind it too.
Right.
It's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. It's crazy. I'm still like I will never stop saying this, but I'm so impressed with how people are able to actually um I don't want to say MacGyver, but like do all the electric stuff
Yeah,
behind the
like
scenes.
the
Like
one
it's
the one
crazy.
thing that we had to by pressing I know by connecting two objects that didn't connect in any way, it sent like this Wi-Fi signal to this other thing, and it caused it to drop from the ceiling, or so it was something weird like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there is like a bit of Wi-Fi and technical know-how there.
Hmm.
So,
So
all right.
like every sorry, real
No,
quick.
no, go
So
ahead.
every time that we like want to play like together, we'll turn to video games. But
Hmm.
then like when we're playing with Nick and Lily, for instance,
Hmm.
we're always having trouble trying to figure out what to play. And every time in my head, I'm like, oh, I wish it was an escape room. We could all just go in person.
Hmm. That would involve a little bit of plane
So,
tickets and everything else, but yeah.
yeah, that just affirms, the whole escape rooms is great for multiple people. That's
Hmm.
all.
Fair enough. All
Yeah,
right.
moving on.
So, do you want to move on?
Sure.
Okay.
Up to
So,
you.
it's up to me. All right. So, my number two entry, board games and card battlers. These are games that you and other players can cooperatively team up to defeat some kind of opponent, virtual or AI opponent. For example, Hero Realms and Star Realms both have a co op versus the AI mode. And it's both a digital card game and an actual tabletop card game. Aeon's End is another one. Across the Obelisk is like a Slay the Spire cooperative game. Pandemic, the board game, where you're working together to beat the board, stop the viruses or bacteria, whatever, from completely wiping out all of mankind. Lost Island, Bullet is a bit more Tetrisy, but players can work together there to defeat a main boss. So the main category here is these are card game board games where you're able to play your own character and develop your own character, whether it be a card deck or an RPG of sorts, because you're building your own deck, but you also have to coordinate with other people and figure out like, okay, I'm gonna build my deck this way, so that you can build your deck this way, and then we can team up on the boss and take him out. At least in a card battler sense. The only
Mhm.
downside to this approach is that sometimes there is an alpha leader situation where, one person is kind of like taking charge and just, no, we should do it this way because it's the most efficient. And I am guilty of that sometimes. I try and rein it back whenever I catch myself, but I'm often the leader in a lot of these things. In Dungeons and Dragons, for example, I kept trying to keep the party going, but then I felt like I was the jerk who kept never giving anyone else a chance to do anything. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I try and rein it back where I can. But,
Mhm.
yeah, anyway. So the point I was trying to make was there are puzzle elements to these styles of games, in that, in Hero Realms, for example, there are four different types of cards, like faction cards, that you can draft if you have the currency to buy them. So there's strategy there in puzzling out. I'm going to take the blue cards so I can get this benefit, and then you, if you want, can take the yellow cards and red cards so that you can gain these benefits, and together we'll
Mhm.
wipe out our opponent that way. Or in Pandemic, one person has an ability like that lets them take 5 actions per round instead of 4. Or this person special ability lets them transport another player across the board for free, or we can trade a card for free anywhere. So like you're using special abilities from the different players to break the game's rules and use them to your advantage to puzzle out the best way to do something. So I know that it sounds weird that that board games and video games of this type can be considered a co-op puzzle game, but I think they are, because they do require you to strategize a bit and figure out and puzzle out how you're going to approach certain situations. Now that might seem a cop out to some people, but hello.
Sorry. There's a fly and I'm trying to kill.
Uh,
Sorry.
Are you always this wow?
would you like me to
Um,
come up there? Cause
Help you again? Yes.
anyway,
so
so
where
what's your take on this whole co-op board game, card game, puzzle? Like, do you agree with that at all? Like, do you think that's a valid genre, topic, category?
I think it's pretty borderline, but
Borderline, yeah, fair
yeah.
enough.
Would Dice Throne campaign mode be a part of that? Because
Yeah, technically, yeah, because again, you're rolling dice with your character's unique abilities to. Now, again, there is an element of RNG with dice, but you're still trying to puzzle out like, do I do direct damage to them? or do I build up my economy first and try and get better abilities to help my friend out? That kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the rabbit hole with this particular topic. At what point do we draw the line and say, yeah, this game technically has puzzle elements, but it's more of like, I mean, it's more of this than a co-op puzzle game. So like, it was difficult to not go down, because 95% of games on Steam could be considered a puzzle game if you think about it a certain way. You know what I mean? But to me, I felt like these deck builders and these board games that are cooperative in nature, there is a puzzle element to them in trying to figure out the best way to approach the problem. It may not be solving a logic puzzle. It may not be figuring out the code to something, but you are still trying to figure out the best strategy and puzzle out how to do certain things. And I think that bears its own category in a way.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite out of, like, there's Hero Realms, Star Realms, Aeon's End, Pandemic, Lost Island, Bullet, Cross the Obelisk. You had mentioned some other games too.
Raxon. No, wait, that's not a deck builder.
It's not. It doesn't have to be a deck builder. It's Raxon is a cooperative. It is technically somewhat puzzly too, in that you can decide what zombies to take out in the grid and what people to rescue, that kind of thing. So, like I said, that's a rabbit hole that's kind of, like you said, borderline.
I'm also thinking like Alien Frontiers and Nemesis Distress, or, those little co-op board games.
Yeah, I don't... that's the hard part. Yeah, is where do you draw the line from a board game, card game standpoint? At what part is it a puzzle game and not a puzzle game? Now, you can be rigid and say, no, puzzle game is you have to figure out this to continue. And I can see some people saying that. To me, a puzzle could also be like, okay, I've got 3 different choices with this card that I could play. How do I want to play? What's the best play? What is the most efficient way to play this card, so that it gives us the most benefit? To me, that's kind of a puzzle. It may not be the answer that you would expect. Like it's not a linear 3-digit code that you're looking for. Rather, it's a solution that is the most efficient, and that can be a bit puzzly in some ways, in my opinion. But
I think probably my favorite would probably be Hero Realms.
You like the Hero Realms?
I do.
It's quick.
I love Hero Realms.
You like your deck builders, though, so that stands to reason.
I'm trying to think of other... I can't think of any.
Well, I mean, like Pandemic, for example, or Lost Island. Both are board games that task players with working together. They've got special abilities. So, like, do you enjoy those games too?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Was it Castle Panic was one of my first
Castle Panic is another... Yeah, you have to figure out how to deal... Yeah, there's Castle Panic, Star Trek Panic, Dead Panic. There is. It's a zombie-themed one, yeah. So yeah, in a way, though, they are puzzly. But then again, there is an element of RNG to a lot of these games, because the puzzle isn't the same every time.
It also depends how you define puzzle, I think.
That's what I was saying earlier. How would you define puzzle?
Ooh.
See how difficult? Step in my shoes for 10 seconds, and I'm listening.
It could be as specific as you want, or as super broad as you want,
Yeah,
so
that's the thing, yeah.
A puzzle is like fitting something into something, right? Or it could be just strategizing in a logic sense.
No, so in a way, I would say that these games are an adaptive puzzler.
Okay.
Because it's not always going to be... Like, if you give someone this logic puzzle, it's going to have the same solution no matter who does the problem. Whereas with games like Pandemic, Hero Realms, and other games like it, the situation is always going to change. Yeah. So you're never going to have the same answer twice. So in my opinion, I don't think it's a thing, but I would call it an adaptive puzzler. And that you're constantly adapting to the situation and puzzling out the best move.
Wouldn't that turn into strategy then?
That could be. And that's where that line has to be figured out at some point. But I don't get paid to do that.
This is cool. It just turned into like a super philosophical conversation.
Yes. How do you define the word puzzle? Well, Webster's dictionary defines puzzle as... all right, moving on. To our number one in this entry.
Our number one, quote unquote, because it's not really.
Yeah, again, no particular order. I have here platforming. Okay. These are like skill-based, dexterity-based games. And the game that you're looking at right now, I believe, is Operation Tango. But the other ones I have written down here, there's Human Fall Flat, Portal 2, Trine series, Lego series, Half Dead, Hack Tag. These are games that typically one person is doing one thing and the other person is doing the other. And in the case of like Hack Tag or Operation Tango, typically like one person is like the computer and the other person is like the agent or whatever. And the computer has to like unlock doors and do cool things for the other player. And then the other player has to like tell the computer, no, you need to look in here and look this information up for me, that kind of thing. And then Portal 2 is its own thing, where you're trying to fly over gaps and create portals for you and your partner so that you can reach certain areas and get to the end of the level. So these are the ones that frustrate me the most. Platforming is my least favorite style of puzzle game, and that, again, dexterity. And that's just not something I am really good at. Do you enjoy these styles of games where you are rushed? I mean, Operation Tango and Hack Tag, they both frustrated me sometimes. Hack Tag especially because Hack Tag, I was constantly moving as the computer, I was moving around the nodes all the time because there was always that computer virus coming after me or whatnot. Whereas the player, it's a stealth game where you're trying to avoid the people. I wasn't solving puzzles. And then you're trying to do that in between the puzzles. You know what I mean? Yeah. That was frustrating to me.
I agree with you that Hack Tag is kind of a platformy type of game, but Operation Tango wasn't very platformy in my opinion.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, I probably should have put that in another area. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in that sense, it would be like Escape Academy. Escape Academy, you're just moving from one room to another.
Okay, fair enough.
Operation Tango is the same way. But, yeah, I like the platform games. But yes, the movement is kind of like, well, where are the puzzles, you know? And that would be more into like the first category that we talked about. But Hack Tag is actually one of my favorite games because there's customization. And you know me, I love customization.
Anything for the hat or the outfit or whatever.
You can have you can create your own little character, and the characters are just so darn cute. And they're animals, you know. So, I don't know. I love Hack Tag. The movement in it, though, it can get difficult because of the number of enemies, like the stealthiness.
It's very skill based. Like I feel like it's there's more of a skill based mechanic to this from a physical standpoint.
Yes.
And
that was the word.
Yeah, to me that I don't know. That's my least favorite. The skill based ones. I like ones I can chill to. Whereas this was like no. You got to get here. And because you got to get there quick because the guard's coming back around. Now you got to solve this puzzle in 5 seconds before he sees you. And
I definitely get that.
Yeah.
And then have you ever played Ibn Ob?
I have not.
We have to cover that one.
Ibn Ob. That's actually, I have a couple of games that I never played. It Takes Two and A Way Out. A Way Out is like this. Two brothers are in jail or something, and they're working together to get out. And then It Takes Two is like this cutesy. I don't know what it is, but it looks like a platformer that I probably would never play. But it looks pretty.
Yeah, I think I kind of like those games because those are the type of games where you need the other person. You cannot play it really solo. I mean, you probably could, but it's like it's better with another person, and you actually need the other person to move on. So I like stuff like that. Oh, Bonkies, isn't that another one?
Bonkies, I mean, it is a puzzler, but it's dexterity. I guess it could be dexterity skill. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. So
Because it's like
bonkies,
Tetris pieces.
it is. You are monkeys, and you have to lift these. Like, okay, in the background are dotted silhouettes, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to move the Tetris pieces exactly into those silhouettes. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to rotate them. But the thing is, you're a monkey, and you have to drag things around. And the
It's
more
a
people you
physics.
have, the heavier they are. So you have to work together to move these pieces, stack
Yeah.
them in the right way, and not have them fall over. You loved that game.
I did. It's a physics-based game and it's really difficult. It's like you're flying on ice. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I would say even Overcooked or the Cook Serve Delicious games
Oh God, I
are.
forgot about that. No, that is. It's very.
Mhm.
It's that's again. That's where that line is drawn. Like, what are the
Mhm.
puzzles in that? It's see, that game is more you're reacting to orders and you're just trying to
Stra-
solve them.
it's a lot of strategy too because the tables are always in different places and they're always like switching around.
So you
So
have
I
to
guess
puzzle out the optimum way of positioning your people
yeah.
to be where you need to be. I
And
guess when things
that's why I love to delegate. I'm like, okay, you over here, you over here. So,
you are the Gordon Ramsay of Overcooked. Where's the lamb sauce? You know.
yeah.
Oh wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh,
He's biting that female.
That's not it.
You're a Libra, aren't you,
That's not
darling?
it.
Are you always this wow?
There we go. That's my only Gordon Ramsay one.
oh,
I have
okay.
right
I was waiting for you, donkey, or something.
I know I need to get all my stuff back. I have 20 clips loaded. I know I've got more Gordon Ramsay ones than
I
this.
see.
But anyway,
Mhm.
you'll have to settle for Are You Always This Wow?
So yeah, between This Means Warp and the Movers, the moving, what's it called, the Movers game,
Moving
um,
out or yeah.
yeah, moving out, and all those other games that involve fast movement in a clock sense, under a time sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say some of those are puzzly, but they're borderline more strategy, maybe.
Yeah. It's difficult to really draw a line. Anything that so I guess the categories, just to sum up all five, we have anything with real time communication time limit. In a sense, that could be your Overcooked. That could be your those games that you're referring to. And then the next category, asynchronous, no network, no time limit. The third is in person, jigsaw-y kind of escape room games. And then your board game and card games where you're working together to solve a common problem. And then number 5, your platforming, dexterity-based games. And I guess there is going to be some overlap between them because dexterity and real-time communication, both of those are present in Overcooked.
Yeah.
So
And where would Rebel Inc. Escalation fall under?
Rebel Inc. Escalation, I would... That's
It's
more
not really
strategy than
puzzle.
puzzle, in my
I see.
opinion. But again, I'm not the puzzle... I'm not the Webster's Dictionary of puzzle definition. So, yeah. Some people may go, what?
But
That ain't puzzling. What are you talking about? I do have an aside here. Like, I was also thinking about other games that are solo based, but could be co-op if you're sitting at the same computer together. For example, just as a quick, dad remembers story. Seventh Guest and 11th Hour. These were FMV, semi-FMV puzzle games where you went through a mansion and just solved a series of puzzles. My friend Jason and I sat there for like an entire evening and just solve these puzzles together cooperatively. Now, it's not like, okay, you need to do this and you need to do that. No, it's just we brainstormed and it was fun. We cooperatively solved the puzzle. So technically it's a cooperative puzzle game, you know what I mean? Even though it's local on the same computer, it still technically is I have fond memories of that. Myst is another game where back then there was no YouTube to look up answers. Myst was a game like, I don't know if it was Windows, DOS, but it was a hard puzzler, like open world puzzle game. And I remember like you could go to a store and read magazines and it was like a 2 or 3 page section guide on certain games, but you'd have to be lucky and hope that magazine mentioned that game that month. Some other games like The Room, Sudoku, Awkward Guests, chess puzzles. Awkward Guess is a game that we play often. There's a solo mode in that, but we play it cooperatively, where we are given a certain amount of time, and we have to use our action points / time points strategically to puzzle out who committed the murder. It's like Clue on steroids, for those of you that don't know what Awkward Guests is. We have several videos out there if you're interested.
Yeah.
But anyway, any other games like that come to mind that are local? Okay. Anything else that you want to talk about that we didn't talk about?
There's so many games out there.
There is. But the problem is, like you said, it's like how it depends. Not everyone defines puzzle games the same. So I think that's part of the issue. But anyway, so there you go, folks. That was our top 5 main types of puzzle games. I'm sure top 5 co-op puzzle games. I'm sure we may have missed 1 or 2, but I'm old. It happens. So that being said, I'm just going to quickly jump into my Patreon and Twitch thank yous. I haven't been on Twitch a whole lot just because of medical reasons, but I will thank White Knight and Little Lily P for continuing your subscriptions. Very nice. White Knight's up to 61 months concurrent, and I think Lily is on 28 total months. She may have skipped a month here or there, but she's been supporting me a lot. Bessa's not subscribing right now, but he did subscribe for like 60 some months. So just a quick shout out to them for their continued support. And then my Patreon folks, Ratsies, he pledged $135 for May for a lifetime of $7,010, which is amazing. Brian pledged $50 for a lifetime of $1,800. Greg Howe pledged $10 for a lifetime of $702. Mind a Lot pledged $5 for a lifetime of $220. Rip Alpha pledged $1 for a lifetime of $73. Alyssa Barrett $1 for $32. And Aaron Jones $1 for $6. So thank you all for your continued support. The more support I get, the more I can do stuff like this. So I guess we'll end with our Spanish sentence of the week. Luckily, I do have soundboard this time, so here comes our favorite mariachi band.
Do not hug me.
All right, so, all right, so you put this together, and I have to try and translate it.
Yeah, this should be a very easy one for you.
Let's see. Los juegos cooperativos son mis tipos de género favoritos. So that is the games.
You got this.
Juegos. I always get juegos. It's either to play or games. Juego, I think, is to play. I think. Although, I always get play and games mixed up. Anyway, let's just keep going. The games or the play, I'm not sure which. Cooperative. Maybe cooperative games con son mis tipos de general favorites. The game cooperative games are my general favorites, or generally my favorites. My types, tipos, types. I although son, I mean, it's not like son is like mijo, right? Little boy, son. So I'm thinking, if I had to guess, my favorite cooperative games are my favorites, or generally my favorites. Is that correct?
Very close.
Very close. So please tell me.
Very close.
Educate me.
Los juegos cooperativos son mis tipos de género favoritos. All right.
Yep.
It says, what does it say?
Oh, come on. You get okay. The Puerto Rican over here.
I know. It says cooperative games. Yeah, I know. Cooperative games are my favorite genre types.
Okay. Grammatically not correct English, but I'll take it. Okay. So I was close, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it. All right.
Cooperative games are my favorite genre types.
Okay.
Hi.
Do not hug me.
There we go.
Wow.
All right. Well, there you go. So there we go. That was episode 43, I think. I don't know anymore. 43. So thank you all for your continued support. If you like the podcast and you want to contribute, I have a Patreon page out there that'll help keep me going while I do my own thing over my way. All right. Well, this is Vince and...
Hi, Lily.
Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all next time. Take care.
Bye, guys.